You're not invited. Laura doesn't want you there. That's what my family texted after I funded their entire wedding. You're not invited to the wedding, Mom wrote. Laura's family says she doesn't want you there. That was all. No apology. No explanation. Just cold words in a plain gray bubble. I read it once. Then again. Then one more time. My thumb hovered over the screen while the coffee beside me sat untouched, getting cold. So you picked image over family, I typed back. No emoji. No jokes. Just truth. Then, without hesitation, I opened my laptop, logged into the wedding planner account, and canceled the venue deposit. The reservation was under my name. I had paid with my own credit card. They didn't even know that. The best part, the money couldn't be refunded. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the wall. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I wasn't even sad. I just felt still, like something inside me had quietly stepped back and was watching from a distance. They had done this before. Not so directly, not in bold letters, but I felt it in the side comments. In the jokes at dinner. In the way they forgot my birthday 3 years straight and blamed the group chat, not showing the notification. I saw it in how Laura became the daughter they praised and wanted. While I was just Steve, always helpful, always quiet. I helped pick the dress shop. I made the first deal with the caterer. I found the Airbnb when Kevin's parents said the Colorado Lodge was too basic. I located a better one with lake views. I even designed the Save the Date site. They used my Canva account. They still had the password. But now I was a problem because Laura's dad didn't like my vibe. Because I wore black to brunch. Because I asked where the $5,000 in catering costs went and wouldn't drop it when Mom said, "Just trust us." They needed me until they didn't. Now they were building the perfect wedding photo album without me. Fake smiles. Filtered pictures. No Steve. Just the people who fit. I took a slow breath and opened our shared folder. Laura and Kevin wedding planning. I clicked through the pictures, the contracts, the schedules. Then I deleted everything I had uploaded, all 63 files. I changed the folder name to Good Luck Without Me. I didn't send a warning. I didn't say a word. Let them panic when they try to confirm with the florist. Let them get confused when the photographer stops answering. Let them be shocked when the venue writes, "This reservation has been canceled by the account owner." They thought I would stay quiet, smile, accept it like always. But this wasn't just about a wedding. This was the last break in something that had been falling apart for years. They gave me the scissors and expected me not to cut the string. They wanted me out. Wish granted. But they didn't expect me to take everything I gave with me. And I was just getting started. Ask them and they'll say I was always too sensitive. That I took things personally. That I made drama out of nothing. But let me explain how I became this version of myself. Let's go back 6 months. It was a Friday night. Laura called me crying. Kevin had lost his job. They were 3 months behind on rent for their downtown apartment. The landlord was filing eviction papers by Monday unless he got everything. I didn't think twice. I sent $6,200 from my savings and told her to reach out again if she needed more. That was the 3rd time I rescued them that year. First, Dad overdrew his retirement account and needed $8,500 fast to avoid fees. Second, Mom forgot Laura's bachelorette Airbnb was on my card and let the girls trash the place. I kept a spreadsheet. I took screenshots, not to use against them, but to remind myself I wasn't imagining things. That I wasn't crazy for feeling like I was bleeding money, time, and care into a family who treated me like a quiet piggy bank. And it wasn't just the money. It was how they acted after I helped. Like I was just the help. Just a backstage worker. One time while I was fixing Dad's gutters in a thunderstorm, he joked I should become a house husband since I clearly wasn't man enough to earn a real income. They all laughed. Even Laura joined in. Later when I brought it up, Mom told me I was being too dramatic. She said Dad was just old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. That same man once left me locked outside in high school because I wore eyeliner. But maybe she was right. Maybe I really was too emotional. When Laura got engaged, She told me over FaceTime. Mom and Dad were right behind her on the couch, clapping and smiling. They had helped plan the whole proposal with Kevin, even went with him to pick the ring. Me? I found out through my phone screen. I should have seen the signs. But part of me thought if I kept helping, maybe someday they'd finally see me as someone who mattered. I paid for the engagement pictures, $1,000. I built the wedding website. I made custom invites. I even paid the venue deposit because Mom said her card wasn't working that day. I was building their wedding step by step while they gave me scraps and called me easygoing. Then came the message. First Aunt Dorothy, "Hey, I heard you're not invited to the wedding. Is that real?" Then Uncle Albert, "Did you say something weird to Kevin's dad? Just wondering." And finally, the post that broke me. A photo on Facebook. Laura and Kevin standing with my parents in front of a barn glowing with string lights. Caption, "So proud of our family. Can't wait to celebrate with all the right people." The right people. I wasn't even tagged. I checked the comments. One of Laura's friends wrote, "Is Steve going to be there? He always makes us laugh." Laura replied, "We're keeping it small. Only people we trust." That night I couldn't sleep. I stayed up going through receipts, emails, call logs, and I saw it clearly for the first time. I was the only one who gave and never asked for anything in return. A week later I got a group text from the family. "Hi everyone. Can we all chip in for Laura's bridal shower decorations? Steve, since you're great with websites, can you make an RSVP page? Love you." I didn't answer. 10 minutes later Laura messaged me privately, "Can you just do this without being passive-aggressive?" So I made a different decision. I logged into the venue portal and submitted a request to cancel the $4,200 deposit. Technically non-refundable, but I had checked the wedding insurance box no one else noticed. I filed a claim under Family Dispute. They refunded 90%. Then I logged into Canva and erased every design I'd created, RSVP forms, table layouts, welcome posters, everything. I made one new file titled, "Ask Kevin's Dad to Deal with It." Then I shared it with the entire family. And that's when everything exploded. 3 hours later Mom called in full panic. "What are you doing? Do you know how this makes us look?" I replied, "Yes. That's exactly why I'm doing it." Then Dad called. He skipped straight to shouting, "You've always hated Laura. That's all this is. You couldn't stand her having a better life than you." I moved the phone away from my face and ended the call. That night my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Laura posted a vague Instagram story, "It's always the closest ones who hurt you." Mom uploaded a photo of Laura crying, "Nothing cuts deeper than your own brother ruining your daughter's big day." Messages poured in, some asking if I was okay, most accusing me of wrecking her wedding. I ignored them all. Then a yellow envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Inside, printed screenshots of a private group chat, Laura and her bridesmaids. Laura had written, "We'll get Steve to cover the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. It always works." Another bridesmaid, "Kevin can't even stand him. Says Steve creeps him out all." Laura again, "He's not going to the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch." On top of the stack, a sticky note in handwriting I didn't recognize yet. "You deserve better, Elizabeth." I didn't know who Elizabeth was. But I would soon. And once I did, everything shifted. Because Elizabeth didn't just have screenshots. Elizabeth had audio recordings. The moment I listened to them, I knew exactly what I had to do. The rehearsal dinner was held at a snobby vineyard about a half-hour drive from the city. They called it rustic luxury. I called it overpriced drinks and fake charm. But I came dressed sharp and calm. I wasn't there for the food. I came to shut it all down. I walked in just as the toast was happening. Laura was laughing. Kevin had his arm around her. Dad looked tense. Mom wouldn't look at me. They clearly didn't expect me to show. To them I was the villain in the background, the angry brother who couldn't move on. But I wasn't angry. I was done. I walked right to the front. "Sorry to cut in," I said, tapping a glass. The room froze. Someone gave a nervous laugh. Laura frowned. I pulled a small speaker from inside my jacket and placed it on the table. Then I held up a flash drive. Kevin jumped up. "What is this?" he asked. I looked right at him. "I'm giving you what you actually deserve." I pressed play. Laura's voice came first, laughing. "We'll make Steve pay for the cake too. Just guilt-trip him about being the only brother. It always works." Silence broke. Someone gasped. A fork hit a plate. Then another clip. "Kevin doesn't even like him. Says Steve creeps him out." Kevin's face lost all color. Laura rushed forward to grab the speaker. I stepped in the way. "Sit down." I didn't ask. I told her. Then the last clip. Laura again, voice cold and proud. "He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Just watch." I paused the recording and looked at the crowd. "Any questions?" Kevin tried to speak, then stayed silent. Dad stood up, furious. "You think this is okay? You think this is the right time?" "Sit down," I snapped. And for once, he did. I turned to Laura. "I've spent over $18,000 on this wedding," I said. "I built your website. I locked in your venue. I paid for your florist. I did it because stupidly I thought this meant something, that we were family." Laura was trembling, mascara running down her cheek. "You don't understand," she began. "No," I interrupted. "You don't. You never have. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a bank account." I pulled out a folder, hard copies, screenshots, texts from Mom and Dad, PayPal receipts, invoices, even the group chat where Laura called me their free wedding planner. I handed it to Kevin. "You still want to marry her?" I asked. He stared at the papers. Said nothing. Then someone in a gray coat stood up from the back. Badge around her neck, phone in hand. "Hi everyone. Sorry to interrupt," she said. "I'm Alice. I used to work with Steve. I also run a digital forensics." She turned to Laura. "Steve asked me to review the files." She held up her phone. "This audio is real. No cuts. No edits. From a WhatsApp backup on your old number. I have the metadata to prove it." Laura's jaw dropped. Mom gasped. Dad growled. "Is this some kind of prank?" Alice smiled politely. "Not even close." Then the real turn. Kevin looked at Laura. "You told me Steve said awful things to you. That he threatened you. That he was unstable." He waved the papers. "You lied." She grabbed his arm. "No, Kevin. Don't touch me," he said. Then the room exploded. Aunt shouting. Glass knocked over. Mom trying to speak but choking on her words. Through all of it I stayed still. Quiet. Steady. Just watching. When the shouting peaked, I raised my voice one last time. "I'm not going to the wedding," I said. "That choice was already made. But now you'll do it without my money, without my help, and without me staying quiet." I looked at my parents. "You shut me out the moment I stopped acting like your puppet. So I'm cutting the strings now." As I started to walk away, Kevin's voice rang out. "I'm ending this," he said clearly. Laura let out a piercing scream, like broken glass in the air. "You can't do this here," she yelled. "Oh," I said over my shoulder. "But he just did." Then I walked out. No background music. No slow-motion scene. Just the quiet sound of everything they built falling apart behind me. I didn't go back home after that rehearsal dinner. I didn't even take the freeway. I took a quiet road heading north, somewhere with no service, no noise. 1 month earlier I had signed a 6-month lease on a small cabin in a forgotten town of barely 600 people. 1 diner. 1 gas station. Nobody there cared who I was. That was exactly why I chose it. I paid 6 months in advance. No forwarding address. No digital trail. Just peace. For the first 3 days I didn't turn my phone on. No emails. No calls. I just sat on the porch with black coffee, listening to birds fighting over trees they'd never own. I didn't feel proud. I felt free. No more neck pain from carrying them. No more guilt. No one begging for money unless they needed another favor. On the fourth day, I signed up for an archival preservation class at the local college. Old newspapers, forgotten letters, history that actually remembered people. I started volunteering at the county museum, labeling 1950s photos, repairing microfilm readers. And for the first time, I didn't care if no one noticed, because it was mine, quietly mine. The messages found my old backup email a week later. Subject lines screaming, "Can we talk? You went too far. We're still family." I left the phone off. They weren't trying to make it right. They just wanted control again. What scared them wasn't the proof. It was the quiet. They didn't know what I would do next. And for the first time, they couldn't steer the outcome. 3 weeks later, a court notice arrived at my old apartment. Dad had tried to sell family land I had quietly frozen the deed on 2 years ago after he almost remortgaged it behind my back. He triggered the clause himself. Sale collapsed. Fraud case opened. Not because I exposed him. Because I stopped protecting him. No long social media post. No group chat revenge. I just disappeared. No birthday wishes. No last-minute help. No vague promises. And that's what finally broke them. People like that don't fear punishment. They fear being forgotten. They fear an empty spotlight. One morning at the post office, I heard someone on the phone. I heard Laura's fiancé dumped before the wedding and her brother vanished with all the money. I never looked back. I didn't correct the story. I just disappeared. New number. New provider. New country code. No forwarding. Closed every shared account. Removed every family name from medical power of attorney, emergency contacts. Everything now lists none. They don't know what state I'm in. What country. If I'm even alive. And that drives them insane. 1 month ago, I drove past the old wedding venue. Quiet. Empty. A faded, "For sale" sign leaning on the gate. A dead bouquet crushed in the gravel. I rolled the window down. The wind smelled like rain and regret. Before leaving, I slid one last envelope into the mailbox by the gate. No return address. Inside, the final invoice I had paid for their wedding. On top, a post-it, "Thanks for nothing." I don't check the old email anymore. But sometimes, just to see, I log in. One message sits unread, "Please just talk to us." Another, "We don't know who you are anymore." That one made me smile. Because they're finally right. I'm not the guy who sent money at 3 a.m. anymore. I'm not the backup plan. I'm not the one who handled their problems, stayed quiet, lived in shame. I'm just someone new. Someone they can't reach. Can't use. Can't rewrite. Last week I bought a new mailbox, steel, secure, locked. The installer asked what name I wanted on it. I said, "No name. Just a message." So now, on a small brass plate below the lock, it reads, "This box does not accept apologies." And every day the quiet I live in says more than words ever could.